Live from clickorlando.com, this is News 6 at 5:30. This is a News 6 Plus takeover. Here now is Solutionaries.
Today we're talking about safer streets. Our creative problem solvers around the country are finding solutions to a variety of issues to make our roadways and neighborhoods better, more secure places to be. In Detroit, street racing is a major problem. Police are working to create outlets for racers, but is it enough? And you have the power to help curb the spread of dangerous material. More on that in just a bit. Hi everyone, I'm Louis Bolden. Here in Orlando, we see many instances of wrong-way driving. Over the past 7 years, more than 1,000 commuters have attempted to get on a toll road going the wrong way. Those mistakes can be dangerous, but measures are in place to help prevent these types of accidents. Solutionaries correspondent Eric Von Anken has the story.
The thing that scares me most about driving on a highway as it's starting to get dark, and especially at night, is seeing a pair of headlights coming straight at me. It just happened here in Orlando again, and it just ended again with an awful crash. But we discovered most of the time, at least here in Orlando, it doesn't end that way because of one of the most advanced and best wrong-way detection systems in the entire country, invented right here.
On a typically steamy summer night in August back in 2012, something happened on this Florida road that nothing or no one really could prevent. A driver bent on ending his life drove up the exit ramp and into oncoming traffic on a major Orlando highway, and within seconds met his demise head-on at the expense of an innocent driver, a father and husband. Both men died almost instantly when the two cars collided with the force of a small bomb exploding and burning.
The grieving family showed up to our board meeting and asked the board there directly, we just suffered this horrible tragedy due to a wrong-way driver. We want CFX to look at ways to combat this problem. And it was from that family addressing our board that this really came about.
The Central Florida Expressway Authority operates most of the highways across the Orlando area, including this one, the 408, the biggest and busiest that runs right through Orlando. Brian Hutchings understood the authority had to do something, but what? Where do they start? They didn't even know how bad the problem was.
And then that's when we teamed with UCF because we didn't know, so we wanted it to be research-based. Before we threw up something and spent a bunch of money, we wanted to understand the problem and what was available out there.
There was no blueprint for this. This didn't exist somewhere else.
It did not exist.
It just so happened a professor at the University of Central Florida in Orlando knew exactly where to begin. Professor Haitham Al-Deek at UCF's College of Engineering and Computer Science was an expert in transportation research. Together with his engineering students, they proposed this.
So at this off-ramp, you got 1, 2, 3, 4 signs.
Correct.
Not just the regular red and white wrong-way signs, but special signs, ones that light up with obnoxiously bright LEDs.
At night, lit up like a Christmas tree.
Cameras that capture a car when it drives up the wrong ramp. Fiber optic connections that instantaneously send the alert to the traffic management system, and state troopers' cell phones and overhead digital signs to warn wrong-way drivers to turn around before they get onto the highway. And if they don't, warn innocent drivers about what lies ahead.
So it's like all these things are happening.
And warn troopers
there it is,
so they can get there in time.
It's not terribly expensive. Our whole system costs about $5 million to implement the 65 detection systems throughout our system. That's 55 on ramps and then 10 on the main line itself, located in various places.
As far as you know, does anyone else in the country have anything this sophisticated?
Not exactly this sophisticated. This is a very unique system.
Hutchings says in 2015, when the system started going in, the first surprise was how bad the problem really was.
Before all of this, you didn't even know.
No, nobody did. Nobody did.
Troopers knew most wrong-way driving happens at night because a driver is drunk or tired or confused, or like the tragedy in 2012, suicidal.
So how many incidents since 2015?
1,200 detected wrong-way driving events, and over 1,000 of those resulted in turnarounds. So the system worked by preventing the vehicles from actually getting on the main line.
In the past 7 years, 1,225 drivers have tried to get on at Central Florida's toll roads going the wrong way. The second surprise was that 1,070 of them turned around before entering the highway. That's an 87% success rate.
Eventually, it's going to be a question of why don't you have one in place? Not is it worth the expense? Is it worth the time and effort? You know, it's going to be a no-brainer.
Reinforcing the system's success, the University of Central Florida has documented a 66% drop in 911 calls for wrong-way drivers.
So you have two cameras, so you can see it coming and going. So that was another addition that we had. Before, we only had one camera.
And the Expressway Authority continues to improve the wrong-way detection system, adding more cameras, infrared vehicle detection, and LiDAR that's using lasers instead of radar. But despite all that,
oh my God, it was terrifying. It was terrifying.
It still happens.
The driver came at us the wrong way, coming the wrong way. We saw their headlights. It was pouring rain, and I don't know how they got turned around. I just continued going forward, and I thank God that I was alive.
Sue Santoro didn't think she'd make it here to her granddaughter's soccer game.
My heart started pounding so bad after it happened. I barely made it home. It didn't work at that particular time because I clearly got on somewhere going the wrong way.
Last year, a suspected drunk driver on the wrong side of another Orlando toll road went for 5 miles.
Pull to the right. You were driving the wrong direction. Pull to the right.
With a trooper on the right side screaming at him over the megaphone to stop. Somehow that driver didn't crash. But on the same day we were doing our interviews for this story, studying the success of the Expressway Authority system, a failure. This driver did crash head on. Brian Hutchings insists it wasn't a failure of the system, though. That part worked. You can see the signs flashing red and the driver blowing right through them. But he crashed so quickly, about a minute after getting onto the highway, that there was no time to warn innocent drivers and dispatch troopers.
And of course, they still had the overhead signage to alert drivers, but it depended if someone saw it in enough time before a crash happened.
This morning, there wasn't enough time.
Not enough time. You have to look at drivers' actions when you have hundreds of thousands of motorists navigating all of Central Florida and something like this doesn't happen.
So this is not a technology flaw. We're not lacking any technology. It's a people flaw.
It's driver actions, and that's with a lot of the crashes that we see.
The Florida Highway Patrol agrees the wrong-way detection system is working well. Drivers are turning around, crashes have dropped, and troopers are getting the alerts. After all, 87% of the time, wrong-way drivers do not end up on Central Florida's toll roads. But to get to 100%?
So by the time you get to this point, you've now been warned
basically twice or 4 times on either, if you do the combination.
What if a driver is so drunk that he misses the flashing lights? Or what if a driver is so suicidal that he doesn't care about the flashing lights?
To get to 100, I think will require everybody's participation. It's going to require the motorists to be alert, pay attention, not to be impaired. And it's going to require systems like this that are continuously upgraded and implemented throughout all interchanges.
Stay with us as we explore street racing, how drivers are sharing their bad behavior online, and what's being done to keep everyone safe.
And this is an actual street feel.
When these cars go down this track, not only do you hear it, you feel it when they go through here. It vibrates your whole body when they go through.
We carry fuel, we carry nitrous oxide, we carry CO2. Anything a street racer would need, he could come here and do it in a confined area and not have to worry about getting in trouble.
More on the unique approach to fulfilling their need for speed while also protecting our roadways is next.
Now that I'm older, I'm like, I can't believe I used to do those kind of things. You know, when I see them drifting and, you know, corners shutting down the freeways, I can't believe that.
When Bobby Flowers was a teen growing up in Detroit, he loved drag racing on city streets.
It's a rush, you know, that's all I can really say. It's a little rush. And even if you're not racing, just watching there doing it, that's what brings so many spectators. It's still a rush.
Those spectators are now growing exponentially on social media. Detroit Police Commander Eric Decker is with the Organized Crime Unit.
This just came up in one of these investigations. This guy had his own website on his car. Took off from officers one weekend, stopped because he, at that time, wasn't doing anything wrong, to be able to identify him, and then look at his car, and he had his own social media site on there. And then to go back to it and see that at that time and date, he's talking about running from the police.
The mentality in the social media is totally different now. You know, before we didn't have a cell phone to call and say, meet me here. In 2 seconds on a phone, there's 100 people there within 10 minutes.
As technology becomes more powerful and the attention that goes with it more addictive, Commander Decker says their focus is increasingly on social media.
I have some of the smartest people that work for me, whether they're sworn officers or intel people, but they're watching you. And, you know, if you want to put it out there, thank you, because we're going to come and visit you.
Choosing not to record yourself engaged in illegal activity, let alone posting it, sounds like common sense. But Professor of Psychology Virgil Ziegler-Hill says it's not that simple.
It's almost like you have someone starting an engine in a car without a skilled driver behind the wheel, because especially young people, they have all of these desires to kind of gain status, to get new experiences, to gain prestige in their environment. At the same time, they don't have the sorts of cognitive control structures in place to stop them from doing really stupid things.
Attracting more followers and shoring up likes and shares has led to more dramatic risks on the streets.
I think social media completely fuels the drag racing drifting. You go out there, maybe you'd spin your car around a couple of times, but if nobody's looking, I just don't see the thrill of it. But now when you can post this up on social media and get all these followers, up to a point that you can physically get paid if you get enough followers, that's what's driving it.
Is it a double-edged sword to a degree for these people? I mean, yes, you want those followers, but man, there is a lot of evidence here for police to go through.
Absolutely, and that's where we're focusing. We're not going to be shy about it. If that's what you want to do is put it up on your social media site, you can bet Detroit police are monitoring your social media site. And if you're one of those main influencers and part of this crazy drifting community to get more people out there, we're coming after you. And we've done it very well. We've executed search warrants. We've taken some doors off the hinges. We've taken cars.
Holding tech companies accountable, forcing these platforms to remove dangerous videos, has not yet gained traction.
I think it'll take pressure from police chiefs, from politicians, from the community to say enough is enough and put that back to the social media sites and for them to go, okay, you're right, and remove that.
Oh, I think tech companies most certainly have a role as well. And I completely agree with the idea that there just isn't the sort of a sustained political will and financing that would be required to deal with these situations more quickly.
They're advocating an illegal activity. I think they are definitely culpable for this, and I'd like to see more pressure put on them. It's an illegal activity and people are dying.
Parents and guardians also play an important role, being engaged with their child's use of social media and having honest conversations about the risks involved.
Is there an easy message that parents can send to their kids that would help kids mature more rapidly? I don't think so. That's why I think parents monitoring their children, being more involved and aware of what they're posting, how they're posting, and consequences of those sorts of things would probably be the most important thing as kids are still going through these maturational processes.
On the streets, the strategy is evolving. Detroit police are focused less on arrests and impounding vehicles and more on catching the influencers and heavy hitters.
Last year we had a lot more officers out there, and they're a lot more traffic focused. Just any stop they could make. And when you have that multitude of force, cars stop more. This year, it's fallen under my preview, organized crime.
Here's a look at the stats in Detroit. Last year, police conducted more than 2,500 traffic stops, impounded 258 vehicles, and made 140 felony arrests. So far this year, police have conducted 263 traffic stops, impounding 72 vehicles, and made 24 felony arrests.
Probably at the end of the year, we're not going to have, it might be half of the numbers as far as how many tickets we wrote, how many cars we impounded, maybe even arrest. Again, it's lower in manpower, but it's a lot more laser focused. So that's why the numbers are different. It's more of an operation currently just to keep people moving, to not let people organize, to not let people stop.
Getting drivers off city streets and racetracks like this could be one of the best bets to curbing illegal activity. The Milan Dragway has just reopened after a 2-year hiatus and is one of the only dragways of its kind in Southeast Michigan.
We love drag racing, and this was the last place in Detroit that was left to do it, so we didn't want that to go by the wayside. There's something for everyone here. You can bring your mom's minivan, or you can bring your top fuel dragster.
Harold Bullock and Perry Merlo are the new co-owners of the Milan Dragway, and they say this racetrack has everything adrenaline junkies are looking for.
We do a lot of no prep racing, which is what those guys like. That means we don't put any traction compound or rubber on the track, and this is an actual street feel.
When these cars go down this track, not only do you hear it, you feel it when they go through here. It vibrates your whole body when they go through.
We carry fuel, we carry nitrous oxide, we carry CO2. Anything a street racer would need, he could come here and do it in a confined area and not have to worry about getting in trouble.
Well, it's affordable to come here, especially compared to street racing where you might lose your life or, best case scenario, lose your car. Even if you do crash here, the odds are very good that you'll get out and walk away from here.
I'd much rather see them go someplace where it's safe, sign a waiver when you walk in there going, hey, this is really dangerous activity and I may be hurt, but I'm not holding somebody else accountable. And like I talked about, that innocent victim that's just driving down the road, this is happening on public highways.
As drifting becomes more and more popular on social media, the Milan Dragway is actually in the process of converting this parking lot into a drift pad so drivers can record themselves drifting safely and then post it online for others to see.
You come here, that you're not going to run into anybody. You can go as fast as you want, and you're with like-minded people.
A lot of those people that are street racing out there are young. They didn't even have a track back then to go to. So now we have this to come here and just see if you like it. You might like it better than the streets.
Bobby is now a regular at the Milan Dragway.
I'm here 80 hours a week. I love it.
He's found a new way to pursue his passion for speed, but says it's challenging to tackle the culture of drag racing and drifting when part of the thrill is breaking the law. Does it ever factor in that this is illegal and dangerous?
All the time.
That doesn't deter?
No, they does not scare him away. One light down the corner, wait a few minutes till he gets closer before they take off.
He was once zipping through the Motor City at breakneck speeds, but a horrific crash changed his course.
What stopped me was an accident on 4th Street that a lady was killed, so I totally walked away from it then. So they did, but it's happening now and they're still not stopping these kids.
What impact did that have on you?
It pretty much halted my whole street racing. I didn't want to see that or participate in that anymore. I felt bad for the families and the people went to jail for the accident and everything, and good friends of mine. I wish the kids could see that and not go and let that happen to them.
Whether it's having a safe space to race, cracking down on social media companies, or talking to your kids about the risks and consequences, there are solutions out there, but it's clear it will take a community buy-in.
You can see more on what's being done to protect our streets from deadly accidents on News 6 Plus. Just go to Solutionaries and press play.